Title: Deadly Intent. Chapter 1. The sun was setting over the small town of Willow Creek, casting long shadows across the quiet streets. In a quaint little cottage on the outskirts of town, a young woman named Emily sat at her kitchen table, staring out the window with a look of determination in her eyes. She had been planning this for weeks, meticulously plotting every detail of what was to come. She knew what she had to do, and she was ready to see it through to the end. Emily had always been a quiet and unassuming woman, but beneath her calm exterior lay a darkness that few had ever seen. She had been wronged, betrayed by those she trusted most, and now it was time for her to seek her revenge. As the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky, Emily rose from her seat and made her way to the basement of the cottage. She had spent countless hours down there, preparing for this moment, and now everything was in place. She reached for the knife that lay on the workbench, feeling its weight in her hand. It was a cold and deadly instrument, but to Emily, it was a tool of justice. With a steady hand, she made her way back upstairs, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew what she was about to do was wrong, but she didn't care. She had been pushed to the edge, and now there was no turning back. Chapter 2. As Emily stepped out into the night, the cool air sent a shiver down her spine. She knew where she had to go, and she wasted no time in making her way through the darkened streets of Willow Creek. Her destination was a large mansion on the outskirts of town, the home of the man who had betrayed her. She had once loved him with all her heart, but now all she felt was a burning rage. As she approached the mansion, Emily could see a light shining in one of the windows. She knew he was inside, probably unaware of the danger that was about to befall him. With a sense of purpose, Emily made her way to the front door and let herself in. The mansion was dark and silent, the only sound the echo of her footsteps on the marble floors. She made her way through the grand hallways, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew she was close now, close to the man who had destroyed her life. Finally, she reached the door to his study. With a deep breath, she pushed it open and stepped inside. Chapter 3. The man sat at his desk, his back to the door. He was engrossed in his work, unaware of the figure standing behind him. Emily raised the knife, her hand steady as she approached him. She could hear the sound of her own heartbeat in her ears, the rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins. As she reached his chair, the man turned to face her, a look of shock and recognition in his eyes. "Emily, what are you doing here?" he stammered, his voice filled with fear. But Emily said nothing. She simply raised the knife and plunged it into his chest, the blade sinking deep into his flesh. The man let out a cry of pain, his eyes wide with disbelief. He reached out a hand towards her, but it was too late. Emily had already sealed his fate. As the man slumped to the ground, Emily stood over him, her chest heaving with exertion. She had done it. She had exacted her revenge. But as she looked down at the man lying at her feet, a sense of emptiness washed over her. She had thought that this would bring her closure, but now all she felt was a profound sense of loss. And as the sirens wailed in the distance, Emily knew that her life would never be the same again. The end.